there's a problem, if you run into a problem. Yes, okay, good. So it's 6 o'clock.
We can start.
We can start. Then if we start early, because we had a lot of things to tell, as usual. And then let's start. Okay. Today the topic is learning disabilities. And we will go into the symptoms, but also looking into what does a brain look like and what can you do. This is the part I think most people are interested in, what you can do. And then we have an offer at the end for the people waiting. The session is being recorded. We think we have about more than an hour, 1 hour, hour and a half. If you can't wait the whole time, you can watch, no problem. The replay will be sent once we have put it on YouTube. So the important part here is the chat box. There you can ask your questions, because we are used to talk about these topics every day. For you, it's sometimes, I hope most is new. So I recommend that you ask questions. There is no stupid questions. There are only stupid answers. So who are we? Okay. This is our team. With me being François Alfries, the founder of the Neurofeedback Luxembourg. I do this since 10 years. And I give a special shout out tonight to Lou, is actually sick, and I hope that she will get well soon and come back. But we have a new one. We have a new team member, which is Nyati.
Glad to be a part of the team now.
Yes, Nyati is a diplomed physiotherapist from Cardiff, UK. And she's joining us now, and she's in the learning phase of neurofeedback, and in the process of being able to work with the clients. And also she's now trained on the safe and sound, which is a topic where we will come back to tonight, which is a really interesting topic. So who works with us? So which people come to us? And we divided our clients normally into 4 categories. And the first one is the day topics. There's the learning and developmental disabilities, of course, ADHD, but also all kind of learning disabilities coming as well, autism and other types of things, but also a lot of people coming for the stress and anxiety, depression, trauma, and things like that. But we also have more serious, more medical part, which is more into epilepsy, migraine, also dementia and other things like brain injury and stroke. But you don't need to be sick to come to us. You can also come to us if you just want to optimize yourself and work better and function better and have better performance, which is absolutely possible. Just for the little story, I think for the last Olympics, over 80% of the sports of the athletes were trained on biofeedback and neurofeedback. Why? Because it's legal doping and without side effects. Where are we located? We are located in Luxembourg, near Gare. We are open from early in the morning till late in the evening. We don't have a phone number where you can reach us, but we offer, we respond by email, or you can ask if you have specific questions. You can always ask for a free teleconsultation. Just a little side note, actually, we are quite full. Normally, we can offer people start the sessions in between 10 days to 2 weeks, but actually, it's way more. You have to check on our calendar, as all our appointments are on a self-service based. You find a lot of our information, what we do and how we do it, and especially the FAQ, who is it for, is it reimbursed, and all the normal questions on what does it cost and everything. It's on a now beautiful website, which you find on the neurofeedbackluxembourg.com. Okay, I think enough introduction. I will head over to Nyati.
Yes, thank you. So what is a learning disability? I think most of us do know the basics, but let's just go into what exactly it is and how it affects everybody from day-to-day life. So we have different parts of learning disabilities such as dyslexia, dysorthography, dyscalculia, dysphagia, dyspraxia, and dysgraphia. So just to go into a little summary of each of them, dyslexia is something we see most commonly, which also exists as a part of all the other types of learning disabilities. And it usually has a lot to do with difficulty in learning language, having problems with memory, comprehension, constructing sentences, and visual attention problems. We go into dysorthography, which is usually a deficit in written expressions, where you know what you want to say, but you don't know exactly how to put it in written form. Dyscalculia is something where you have reversing numbers, you have difficulty in understanding the concept of time and estimating the passage of time, distinguishing from left to right, difficulties with multiplication tables, addition, subtractions. You have dysphagia, which is oral difficulties, where you know exactly how to form a sentence in your mind, but you don't know how to say it out loud, where it mostly concerns phonology, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension disorders, and sentence formation disorders. You have dyspraxia. Dyspraxia and dysgraphia usually go side by side. Dyspraxia usually has a lot of motor planning difficulties, a lot of difficulties with holding your pencil, a very tight grip, not understanding your line formation on a page. You don't know how to write a sentence on a page. They might have slanting lines, or they don't know how to form it into a sentence. Usually associated with it also abnormalities in spatial location on a page. If you tell them to draw something on a specific side of the page, they might not know exactly where to draw it. And then you have dysgraphia, which is also a part of dyspraxia, where you have writing difficulties such as slow and stiff writing, irregular letters, poor pencil grip, hand cramps, motor difficulties, and problems writing in a single line. So, what is the difference between a learning disability and ADHD? They usually do go side by side, but ADHD also has a few specific symptoms that you generally see, which could be easily distracted in a school surrounding, not able to concentrate in a classroom where there are a lot of other distractions possible. They forget their school belongings, forget things at home, forget to put on a t-shirt probably in the right order, or forget your morning routines. They talk a lot, speak too quickly, frequently interrupt, and they can't deal with injustice or manage frustrations well. They always seek dopamine. They want to enjoy intense activities and sometimes get into reckless activities as well. Okay. So now, what are the usual data that we see in ADHD, and how prominent is it in every country that we see? ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder, whereas a learning disability is a specific learning disability among a developmental disorder. It is always a part of a developmental thing and will not exist by itself. ADHD usually occurs, if we are seeing country-wise, it usually occurs from 3 to 12% of children based on a country. And there's always a majority of boys having ADHD more than the girls, with a ratio of 3:1. In learning disabilities, it's about 10 to 15% of children for a specific age group. In ADHD, it is usually always paired with a learning disorder. It could be dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dyslexia, any of those. And 15 to 30% of children diagnosed with ADHD have a learning disorder. Learning disabilities rarely occur alone, and more than 40% of children with one learning disability tends to have another learning disability as well. Whereas you see learning disabilities such as dyslexia would go commonly with dyscalculia or dysgraphia. ADHD usually has a lot of common symptoms such as attention deficits, impulsivity issues, and hyperactivity amongst the children, whereas learning disabilities is impairment of one or more cognitive functions such as attention, memory, executive functions, language, writing, and calculations. So how does learning disorder usually happen, or why does it occur amongst children or adults that we see? Current research shows that genetics play a very important role, and also based on genetics, it's also a risk factor along with other factors. So let's go into more of that in detail. And a few of the causes that are most prominent are brain injuries due to meningitis and encephalitis, which can usually result in learning and attention problems. Exposure to environmental risks such as lead poisoning, which you usually see in paint or other child-related activities such as pens, crayons, something that they use, which they're kind of inhaling or, eating. premature delivery, low birth weight, and also alcohol and tobacco use during pregnancy is a very high risk factor for ADHD and learning disabilities. Okay. So now I'll give it on to Francois to explain this.
No.
No?
No.
Want me to do it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you can finish
So
that one.
let's go into the physiology of the causes that causes ADHD and learning disabilities. ADHD usually happens due to the underactivation of multiple attentional networks, where we see attention as a major symptom in a ADHD child. There could be underactivation of the prefrontal network, or if you see decreased connections between the frontal and posterior part of the brain, which is usually the longitudinal fasciculus, or the precuneus and the anterior cingulate cortex, which is the default mode network. So now, what is the default mode network? I think it's the most common thing that you explained to me also about. The default mode network is the state of the mind in which it's between two activities. It's not specifically focused on a specific activity, but it's the state of mind that happens between two activities. Am I saying it correct?
That's exactly correct. The default mode network is in fact the network we use the most in the brain, because it's also there where our identity is, who we are, what are we doing, why are we here, and we think the life as a continuous event, but in fact in the brain it's microactivity, and it's only through the default mode network who connects the different events that makes the I experience. I exist as a person. I am something. But in the brain, it's microactivity, microseconds, tack, 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 tack.
So usually, I think what we see is in the a normal neurotypical child or a neurotypical child that we see, the DMN usually occurs between two activities where the brain is being used. In a child with ADHD, your DMN network is working even when that activity is going on, which is the reason why they're not able to focus on a certain activity and they kind of lose focus very fast. It also, ADHD works a lot with working memory impairment, vigilance issues, lack of self-regulation. They don't know how to behave around certain people. Any small trigger will cause them to lash out or get frustrated and throw a tantrum. Or you see that very commonly in an ADHD child, where they're not able to regulate themselves in, say, a classroom where there is a more distracted environment present. And that also is a result of a lot of reduced dopamine activity in the brain, where they are seeking more dopamine, where they want more activity in the sense of more reckless activities. They want to do things that are out of their comfort zones, but that could technically be a little dangerous for them as well.
Dangerous, and normally it puts them in a fatigue state because they don't listen to their need. The problem is often you have the combination of ADHD with learning disabilities, and then often one is not well diagnosed.
Yeah. Let's go to the learning disability part of it. It's rarely isolated in a dysfunctional brain. It usually occurs with another disability, or it usually occurs with ADHD. There are different combinations which of the areas are regulated. It could be an auditory processing issue, it could be a visual processing issue, or it could be a motor processing issue, which you generally see. So it usually is due to the lack of connectivity between the areas, where if it's, say dysgraphia, where there is a visual processing disorder as well as a motor processing disorder, when they're not able to combine both of them and use them in a specific activity. So you see it's in dyscalculia, where it's a lesion of two different parts of the brain, which causes a deficiency in working memory and degraded short-term memory, where they're not able to use the formulae or use the functions that they're supposed to for a specific problem. Or you have dyspraxia, which is an impairment in the brain plasticity, and it's usually due to a dysregulation in the frontal cortex.
I just add one thing, because it's often misunderstood. Having dyslexia or dyscalculia doesn't mean that you are intelligent. Often they are really brilliant people. And I think a lot changed in Luxembourg when our Grand Duke came out, made it public a few years ago that he has dyslexia.
Yeah.
And he's certainly not a less intelligent person, but it's difficult to show the intelligence if you can do the simple things which are for other people easy to do.
So I think the most simple example to give is something that you see in a child when they're in school, where it's a learning disability is something that they are learning it, but they don't know how to utilize that specific information in their day-to-day lives or in their day-to-day classwork. Whereas in an ADHD child, they are understanding it. They might be very smart. They might understand the whole thing, but the kind of distraction that they have in the classroom doesn't let them utilize that information. Whereas in learning disabilities, they have more confusion in their brain about where to use a specific thing. In the ADHD, it's just related to dysregulation in their minds, whether it's noise or it's hypervisual, uh,
Sensitivity.
sensitivity. It could be
Yeah.
any of that. So, okay, now we're going on to the classical solutions.
Okay, the classical solutions. This is different between what we offer, because we don't, first, what is important to know, even if we look deep in the brain and analyze the activity, first, we don't give any diagnosis, because diagnoses are reserved for doctors. And side note, we often do not agree to the diagnosis we see in the brains, but it's not the important part. The important part is how can we help. So there is no medication for learning disabilities. That doesn't exist. But for ADHD, there are some medications who work at different effects. The problem is the medications. First, example, in Luxembourg, you need to have been diagnosed before you're 18. Otherwise, you have to pay yourself for the medications, because as an adult, you don't get reimbursed. Then there are often side effects, and the medication, if you stop taking them, the effects will come back. So there is no learning. So you can manage it. We are not against medication when they're useful, but they are not, as neurofeedback, they are not a standalone solution. People think, oh no, I medicate, everything is fine. No, it's not, and you will see it. So then you have the therapy part for ADHD. There's, for the parent, is really, really useful to manage the difficult child. I often call them zebras because they don't fit into the normal categories. They are intelligent, but can do simple things like cleaning up their room.
I think the most common thing they say is ADHD children are consistently inconsistent. They can change. From one day they can be doing everything completely fine and to the T, and the second day they'll be doing it completely the opposite way, or they won't know what to do about it, or they don't want to do anything about it.
Yeah. Motivation is a big problem, and the risk of being a zebra is that you get annoyed by the school and that you refuse to do any efforts, because if you do efforts, you will not be, the reward will not be constant. Yeah. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not work, and then they often, okay, no, it's not for me, the school. But that's not true. They can do it. So methods like Triple P for parenting, Barclay is more in French, or the TCC, which is the behavioral therapy, can help do things. For the learning disabilities, there are more specific things like speech therapist, orthophonist, the occupational therapist, ergotherapist, physiotherapist, kinesio. In Luxembourg, we have also the psychomotricienne, which are useful. But for all of these, for children, you need a diagnosis, and then you also can have access to what we see here is the school adaptations. My son, for example, had a chance to have a really good teacher, and the teacher knew that my son knew all the things, but as soon as he had to write down in a written test, it didn't work. So he got the proper diagnosis, and then he was allowed to do the exams orally, and that worked fine. What we do is the third option, but it's good to maybe combine the different things, because neurotherapy, what we do, neurofeedback and neuromodulation, is also not a standalone. It will not solve everything, but it will help the brain to manage way, way better. Okay. So what does the brain tell us? Because we are specialists of the brain. I do this since 10 years. I've looked into 2,000 brains. I've trained over 1,500 brains. And yes, it works. Sometimes it's really so miraculous. Often people say, why is it not more well known? But I don't know. We do our best. That's why we do these conferences. That's why we have a lot of information. Yes. So what does the brain tell us? How can we look at the brain? The brain is the central organ where all the major important things are regulated. While we are listening to us, there are at least 1,000 processes in your body who takes place. You don't even notice them. And if you work on the brain directly, the advantage is you go to the source. But how can you analyze the brain? The brain, in fact, has two systems. It has one chemical systems. This is the neurotransmitter systems and things like noradrenaline, dopamine, and so all these kind of things. The disadvantage of that, you cannot analyze them. Apart if you drill a hole in the brain, then take out some blood, analyze it, then you have an idea what's going on. But as you can imagine, that's not practically, and it's not done. The other way to look into the brain is to examine, to look at the electrical system, because the electrical system is easy to do. You need to put on a nice cap like this. I call it bigoudi in French, like our grandmas had to put in the hair. And then you can have 19 electrodes on the head. So here is an example of how it looks like. Each line is one electrode on the head. So then we record 5 minutes, eyes open, the brain at rest. 5 minutes, eyes closed, the brain at rest. And then we can analyze this activity and see a lot. That is so rich of information. The brain reflects exactly how the person is. So again, it's painless. There is no danger. The first step, just listening, is easy. But you see a lot of interesting things. For example,
I'm just going to interject here for a minute.
Yes.
It's what Francois told me when I joined the team, that when we've done your EEG and we know how your brain works, he said we can see more of part of the brain than you can individually as a person, because there are so many things that we generally don't want to talk about, or we generally hide and suppress, and your EEG says more than what you would express as a person.
Yes. Jesus, and here you see something on the left, which is something which this is not our work again, but we see it. These are epileptical activities in the brain. And this is one of the major sources of misdiagnosed people, is if people have a non-functioning brain. And that's why it makes me angry when I see that psychiatrists do an ADHD diagnosis in 10 minutes with a questionnaire without looking and analyzing the organ they should treat. So, yes, don't go further into that. So what we do is not EEG, we do quantitative EEG. Why? What does quantitative mean? So it's by quantifying the activity. So first it is it's a measurement. We do use exactly the same technology. The EEG is exactly the same than the neurologists use, but we have other goals where we look for. The neurologist will look for epilepsy, seizures, neurodegenerative things, inflammation, tremors, all these kind of things, which are really serious. If the report from the neurologist is longer than a sentence, you have normally problems. Our reports are pages long, are quite intensive with lots of information, because we analyze the brain activity by comparing it to databases. We have several systems. We have thousands of brains inside. They have been built, they have been validated. These databases, for example, in the US, they count as a proof in court. So it's really a serious, good database. So we compare your activity to these databases, and what we get is a graphical representation. That's what we call a brain map of how you use your brain. And we don't talk about diagnosis, but we talk about overactivation and underactivation. Too much of this, not enough of this, wrong place, wrong time, and timing also, because the brain is much about timing, as you will see soon. So now you get a short course introduction into brainwaves. Ready? So the first kind of brainwaves we look into, which are especially related to learning disabilities, this is they are called delta brainwaves. They go from 0.10 hertz to 4 hertz. This is, and here you have an example of how they look like when we record the EEG. They are big amplitude waves, slow waves. And normally you produce these waves when you're either in deep sleep, or when you're in coma, or when the brain is repairing, or when the brain is not as mature as it should be. Some parts of the brain are more developed than others. Then you will see delta. So in excess, developmental delay, we have cognitive impairment, we have pain, it's linked to inflammation. It depends on where it is and how it shows up. That's our experience, how to see. If there is not enough delta waves, then we know that either you don't have good sleep, which is the most common case, that you don't have enough serotonin, or that you are really already into the burnout. So depends on where and how again. But the important notion is no brainwave is good or bad. It's the dose who makes the poison. So the second brainwaves, these are my preferred ones because I am ADHD, the inattentive type, not the hyperactive type, and this is my brain. That's exactly how my brain looks like. I have a big theta spot, so slow waves. The theta waves correspond to the state when you are dreamy, just before going into sleep. So this is and it's generated in the limbic system, so it has to do with the limbic. But theta is also linked to creativity and to a lot of, it's not only disadvantages, it's also advantages. If you have too much theta waves like this one, then you have problem, attention, concentration, memory, or it can be even other things. And if you are not enough, then again, you have difficulty fall asleep, you're fatigued, or you can even have memory problems also, depending on where they are. One important thing to understand is we measure at the surface, but our analysis and our trainings are done on the deeper structures. So really how the brain works, because the brain does not work with dots on the surface, it's the structures below. Okay. Now the most well-known brainwaves are the alpha brainwaves. And where does the name alpha come from? Do you know that? No. Because it's the first one they saw, because they have a really typical symmetrical form. And so the first person who recorded was Hans Berger in 1920, something like that. And he was in search of telepathy, so psychic research. And the first waves he saw was alpha. That's why they are named alpha. They are visually really beautiful. And they are often related. So if you go to YouTube, you will find, alpha music, relaxation, nice. But again, the dose make the poison. If you have too much, if you have enough alpha waves, then you are relaxed and ready to perform. But if you have too much, like here, this is an image of how depression looks in the brain. This is nice depression. If you don't have enough alpha waves, then restless, you cannot stay, you must do something to the time. I think certain parents will recognize their children. It's not always linked to lack of alpha. Lack of alpha is also commonly seen in the autism spectrum. But again, there are different types, and it's again how much and is it a problem or not. Then coming now to the most important rhythm, I hope that you are actually into the beta rhythm. The first one is called the SMR, so the sensory motor rhythm, or low beta. Sensory motor is only when it's measured on the motor strip. There's the image of the cat. This is typically the situation. I don't know if you ever watched a cat who is in front of a mouse hole. The cat can sit there 1 hour, 2 hour. He will not fall asleep. He will not get nerved. But if the mouse just comes out of the hole, bang, directly react. So it's a state of I'm here, but I'm not over focused, because lots of people we see think that they must go into effort to produce. That's not true. That's an overactivation. So, and if you have too much, often it's a compensatory system of other activities you don't have. If you have not enough, then you are really easily tired. Sports people, for example, have also this in excess. When I say sports people, I mean really professional athletes. They have always over active in SMR. Then you have the faster brainwaves. This is the normal, is 13 hertz to 20 hertz. This is an activation, but it's not the relaxed activation. If you go above 15 or 16 hertz, so we talk about 18, 19 hertz, if you are into that state, then you are tense. You are
always waiting for something to happen.
Yes, go. You need to, So, and like not only in the real world, in the brain also, everything is about economy, about long term, about being self-sufficient and not spending too much energy for nothing. So, and that's exactly the difference. For our point of view, the best brain is the brain who adapts to the task. If the task only asks 10% energy, then go to 10. You don't need to go up in the whole energy level. And if you cannot activate, then you have probably ADHD or something else. So too much is really linked to stress, rumination, being nervous, hyperactive. Okay. And then we go into the bad waves. This is the high beta. High beta, this is stress, or I call them also the Ukraine waves. So this is the brain thinking you are uncertain. Look like the brain waves look like. Look, they are not nice. So normally brainwaves should be something like waves where you can surf on. Here you can surf this, and if you have these waves, then you are really stressed. You are vigilant, hyper vigilant. So, and this is not what you have, and you get exhausted because these brainwaves they cost you too much energy. And then we have the above the gamma brainwaves. The gamma they are really special. Gamma is fantastic brainwaves in the term that they are localized. They are never generic or all over the place. And the experience when you're looking for a solution and then you combine two information and you get the solution, the eureka moment, that's gamma. That's exactly gamma. But it should only be local, and it's about connecting two different parts of the brain communicating together and then going off. If the gamma is persistent, then you have a problem. This normally is hypervigilance. Tinnitus is something like that, but can also be linked to pain and to a lot of different things. So, and gamma, again, consumes way too much energy, and it looks like this. Here we have spindles. Great. So that was the short course about the brainwaves. I repeat, if you have any questions, please type in the box and you can put your questions here. Okay. I go on. As long as there are no questions, I go on. Okay. So what is neurotherapy? Why are we talking about neurotherapy? Because our name is neurofeedback, but since I do this 10 years, first there are different types of neurofeedback. You have the slow cortical potentials, you have the 1 or 2 channel, you have the ILF, the ISF, you have at least 10 different sorts of neurofeedback. And we do a different type of neurofeedback, which is not the easiest one to learn, but is the one who I found out that it has the most predictable result with the less side effects. and the fastest results. But we do not only neurofeedback, we combine it with neurostimulation. That's why we call it more neurotherapy. Is that something new? No, it's not because you haven't heard about it that it's new. The first neurofeedback was done 60 years ago from Barry Sterman on cats who improved, and he treated epilepsy with that. So quite serious things. The story of that is another one. I think you can read it on our website. We have some information about it. It's a funny thing. It's how neurofeedback was discovered. And by the way, if you look for it on PubMed, there are over 3,000 scientific publications. Yes, it's hard science. So what we do is called the Reuter Z-score 90 channel. That's a big name. Forget about the name. It's not important. How I try to explain a little bit how it works. So in fact, it's operant conditioning for the brain. We train the brain, and the good thing is, and that's why also children like to come to us, they don't need to do anything. They come to us and watch a film. But how could that help their brain to work better? Because once you come in, you get this cap on. The trainer selects a target, a network, a region in the brain which is dysregulated. That's why we always need to do a brain map before we start training, because we select exactly the regions, the frequencies which are dysregulated, and then we select a range of z-scores, of values we want to train. Then the film starts, and when the brain goes into the right movement, so the right direction, so less, this one is too much high waves, so this is anxiety, and if the anxiety goes down, directly the image and the sound react to that, and it's real time. To give you an idea, it's 50 milliseconds between the moment we measure and the moment we give the feedback, and the smallest thought is 250 milliseconds, so you cannot control it. You just watch it, and the screen changes. So in fact, when your brain produces more high beta, then the screen gets dark, sound gets dimmed. And in fact, it's like the system tells the brain, do this, don't do this, don't do this, do this, do this, don't do this. And to give you an idea, we train over 1,000 values, parameters in real time in the brain. And we want that the brain activate his self-healing capacities, because the brain can self-heal, but the brain has a problem. It has no sensors about his own activities. So in fact, what we are doing in the neurofeedback, we give the brain our sensors so it can regulate itself, and that's what it does. I don't know how your brain does it, but I know that every brain does it. Every brain needs a few seconds, and then it starts regulating itself. Okay. So the important, and yes, the question normally who comes there is, are the effects permanent? So sorry, I have to, maybe you can take a few minutes.
So it's something that actually lasts over a period of time. Most people usually see the effects for up to a year, if I'm not wrong in that sense. And it's something that you can keep working on. It's not something that you do once and you can leave it. If you still feel like your brain requires more, or we feel that your brain still needs a little more regulation, there are ways to do it, and there are more sessions that we would provide that would enable that to happen.
But normally the results, they are you take away, and you have the maximum results 6 months after you finished your training, because the brain needs to reorganize itself to have the maximum of effects. And then why we have, because if you go into the scientific literature, you will find studies telling you that you need 40 to 60 sessions of neurofeedback to help reduce ADHD symptoms. Our clients rarely need over 15 sessions. Why? Because we combine different modalities. That's what I already said. We combine these neuromodulation things. What is neuromodulation? Neuromodulation is There are different ways to do it: electric, photobiomodulation, magnetic, light, sound, and we combine that. First, it's priming your brain. For example, if you have ADHD or learning disabilities, it's linked to slow waves. And if you then stimulate the places with a little bit faster waves, not too much, again, otherwise you are going to stress, then the brain copies the information we give the brain, and we give energy level to the brain. So the brain has more energy to do the trainings, because the trainings, people think, oh, I just watch a film, how could that change? You will feel it, because you will feel your brain working, and you will be tired, hungry after 20 minutes of training, like you would have done 1 hour of fitness center. So you burn more calories here in one session than you do in a session. So how does it work? The idea is, here we have a brain which is too fast in beta waves, so we would stimulate it alpha smooth waves. So stimulation is applied, electrical, magnetic, light, sound. We combine it to different things on the gut, on the brain, on the vagus nerve, on the nervous system. Depends on what we saw in the first step on the analysis, and then we see it. Then the brain adapts, so it's making alpha waves. So the person instantly will feel, oh, I'm relaxed. That's normally when the people start in the first session. Oh, get yawning and relaxing, melting in the chair, and that's, you can also achieve this. I tell the clients also, you can this by doing meditation, but you need to practice years of meditation to get results we can do in a few sessions. That is the difference. It's a shortcut. So, example here is the magnet stimulation. Here we rarely put them on the head. We put them more often on the gut, or we can also put them on other parts of the body, depending on what is going on. Why the gut? But the gut is the second brain. The serotonin, for example, is made there. We have different applications, different protocol. We have hundreds of protocol we use depending on what you see. This is one of our last baby we added, and this is quite magic. It's the name photobiomodulation, low-level laser light therapy. There's different names. Photobiomodulation is the last name where the professionals agreed. So we use LEDs because lasers are reserved for doctors. It has really, it's infrared intracranial stimulation. So we have different device. And this is light, you don't see, it's infrared, you don't see it, but it goes through the skull and hits the brain. What does that do? It produces ATP. What is ATP? ATP is energy, but it's also cell repair. It's antioxidative. It's and firstly, it gives energy. So, and it's neuroprotective. So we have different modalities to apply. Depending again on the size, on the age, on the request, we adapt it to what is needed. There is a question. If is a person in therapy for ADHD, should they stop it during a treatment? What kind of therapy? Do you say medication? No, there's no need. And anyway, if you take the normal medication, which is methylphenidate, if you take the normal version, it has an action time of around 3.5 hours. If you take the retard, it's maximum 5 hours. So if you come in the afternoon, because we have our Thursday and Tuesday afternoons reserved for kids, then if you take it in the morning, there's no more medication in the brain. And if you speak more about physical therapy, speech therapy, no, of course, they should be combined. Ultimately, you should do, for example, physical therapy or speech therapy just after the neurofeedback. You would have fantastic results. We had some clients who did it. It's fantastic. So no, you don't need to stop the therapy. For the adults, when we speak about other topics than learning disabilities, medications are not the friend of your brain. Why? Because they stabilize your brain, but that means also they also make the brain less plastic, so less able to change itself. So it will work, but maybe you will have either more side effects or you will need more sessions. more side effects. That's not, you will not die, it's not impossible, but yeah, it works better if you have less medication. We helped hundreds of clients to get off medication, but it depends on what, and it's always in cooperation with your doctor, prescribing doctor. We never recommend anyone to stop medications without talking to the doctor. This is dangerous, don't do it. Then we have another form of neuromodulation, which is the softest one, but it is one of the strongest one we have, especially for learning disabilities. And I let Nyati explain it.
So this is the safe and sound protocol, and it's basically just a regulation of the autonomic nervous system. So to give you a summary of what exactly it is, it's basically listening to music, but listening to music that is regulating your brain in a certain way. So if you see, it helps with trauma, PTSD, anxiety, behavior regulation, social engagement, attention and learning difficulties such as ADHD, ASD, learning disorders, memory, and sleep. This is not something that you would do by itself, but along with neurofeedback sessions, it's supposed to be the most beneficial. And we've seen the results in a lot of our clients as well. This is also something which is related to the vagus nerve and the polyvagal theory, which is something that has been researched for a very long period of time, but has come into more of limelight now.
What is the vagus nerve?
Yeah. Vagus nerve. Okay.
What is that? What is the vagus nerve?
In the sense of the anatomy? Okay, so basically, it extends from your ear canal, from your middle ear muscles, to the neck and down to your gut.
Do you know how I call it? No, I call it the vagus nerve. For me, is the interface from the brain to the body, because almost every function is regulated through the vagus nerve. Your digestion, your swallow. We had fantastic results with clients who even didn't told us that they have swallowing difficulties. Just listening to that, swallowing difficulties gone. Yeah. Or digestion. Yeah.
So it's usually always suggested that it's delivered by a healthcare professional that has advised you to do it, and there is a certain dosage which we would prescribe you to do it. Not more, not less, but something that is advised for your benefit as well. And it's just something that an individual has to wear over-the-ear headphones, listen to it, do nothing while listening to it, and it can stimulate the middle ear muscles and promote neural regulation. The music gradually changes from a simpler low-intensity sound to more complex and dynamic ones, and it is the goal of the SSP basically is to put your brain from a state of hyperarousal to a more regulated and socially engaged state where you're not overthinking everything, but you're more in a regulated state where you're able to take charge of what you're thinking about and not overdo things.
I just add, because it's not written there, but especially the as I call them, the zebras, they often have a really sensory integration difficulties. So they are really easily saturated, the sound. Every noise, they hear the noise stronger and everything. This gets regulated, and it's magic happening just by listening to music. So just this therapy should stop, which is the best non-medical therapy to combine with neurofeedback. That depends on your symptoms. I suggest, Alessandra, I suggest that you take a free consultation where we can really go into your personal, because not every symptoms, is there a sleep problem, is there...
I think we need to know the symptoms to suggest.
Oppositional behavior, what is the constellation of the family? There's,
a lot of variations, and I think what you personally would require. Each, I think, therapy is custom made to the person's requirements.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of case studies as well where we've seen for children with ADHD that SSP has shown an increase in tolerance for overstimulating environments, where you see children when they're sitting in a school environment or where there's a lot of noise, they're not able to focus, they're getting hyper, they usually lash out or get frustrated about things. But after the SSP, they've shown to have a regulated state of mind and are able to deal with that kind of distraction in a school-based environment. And also for developmental dynia and apraxia, SSP shows a gain in speech, like we said, the swallow therapy, and it shows more connectivity, being more alert and aware, picking up concepts more quickly, being more interactive, and being more present in the moment and knowing what is happening at that point.
The polyvagal theory from Stephen Porges speaks about the ventral dorsal and the ventral vagus and the dorsal vagus, and the dorsal is more the activity, the defensive, and and this is when the children is not into socializing easy. Then he is in a dorsal status, and the ventral status, that is what you need to do, for example, as parent, to play with your children, being in the present, being open, being assured. This is when you are in the ventral activation. And with the SSP, in fact, they use the audio canal to regulate, to address the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve is difficult to address directly.
And I think the best example when you see an ADHD child is they need to move from one activity to the other very fast. They can't focus on one activity for a very long period of time. But with this SSP, and if you give them a task which is non-cognitive in nature and something, they'll be able to focus on it more and stick with that task for a longer period of time. Let me go to the next slide. Oops.
No.
Okay.
Is that one next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There are some studies, so just to tell you, it's not woohoo, because it sounds magic what we are doing sometimes. And believe me, just listening to this music, it's a 15-hour program. We saw so many changes. We will do a webinar just about that, I think, in 1 month, from these people from the company who does this product, because it's so amazing. You will see, you can research it, you can look at it, no problem.
We have a question.
You have a question.
I'm new to this fascinating topic. Thank you for the session. Can you provide examples of other than ADHD issues in adults that you are treating?
Yeah, but you have all our webinars on our YouTube channel for anxiety, for depression, for insomnia, for PTSD, for autism. They are all on our YouTube channel. But today the topic is learning disabilities. Sorry. And yeah. Yes, but maybe that's a good question in the terms of what we often see. If the ADHD is undiagnosed and we see adults coming to us, they usually come with a diagnosis of anxiety or depression, especially women, or burnout. This is the classical case, because the boys with learning disabilities and ADHD, they have more often an unsocial, or they have special behaviors which make them less easy manageable. And the girls, they do something, they react differently. If they have ADHD, they will just work more, work harder, don't make noises, don't make any fights or something else. And so it gets undiagnosed. And it's only when they get older, then when they go into the active life, or when they get mother and then they see their children, oh, that's like me. And then it's still useful to do something. You don't have to live with it. So what can we achieve? What can we improve? Because we go directly to the source. We go to the brain. We go where the dysregulations are. The benefits can be really impressive. We can work really on the specific conditions of each person, the conditions they have. There's someone. No, there's no certificate of attendance, because this is not a training. This is a conference. We can really improve cognitive function, and we will show you a nice example afterwards.
Yes.
Because what is really important to mention, we always, before you start training, first we measure your brain activity, but we also measure your cognitive capacities. We do an extensive neuropsychological testing where we see all the different types of attention, memories, filtering difficulties, and everything, which is measured on scientific tests. And the same tests are done and when you finish, so that you really see what improved. And I can tell you, every client improves. So we work on the mechanism we use is called brain plasticity. So our goal of the trainings is always have a flexible and adaptive brain, not a fixed brain, only high performance, because that brain has a problem. It can't relax, and so it doesn't get good old. So because you need both, you need challenges and you need to learn to relax.
But you need to how to regulate between those
and
two
switch from them to the
yeah.
others. So, and we have also, these are the normally the secondary symptoms, comorbidities for ADHD and learning, because the emotion management are really difficult. Say outburst. Sometimes it's only at home. Sometimes it's also in school. Sometimes it's only one place. They normally all have low self-esteem because they feel I'm different. I cannot do what the others do, or I need more time, or I always make the same mistakes. And this is the problem why then often they get school problems. So, of course, anxiety, stress, and mostly, or especially for ADHD, always sleep problem. Always, even if the parents don't see, oh, but he sleeps well. Yeah, but how is he in the morning? Is he fit in the morning? No, then he doesn't sleep well. But okay, we can also measure the sleep, but there's a whole webinar about the sleep because we measure this also. Okay, when does this work or not? What is the most important part of that this works or not? Because we are not cheap, but we are really effective. But the parts we cannot do for you is your life hygiene, your lifestyle. So sugar is your enemy. If you want to get old, if you want to learn, if you want to relax, sugar is your enemy. Alzheimer is the third form of diabetes. That's all I say. The other problem where we always have discussions with our clients, hydration. How many water you? Oh, I don't like water. You need to drink water. You can drink tea, okay, but not green tea or black tea. Otherwise, you go into stimulation. You need to have you need to have the nutrition. You need to have activity, and you need to take care of your sleep. Sleep means routines. No routines, no good sleep. So especially if you work shifts or something like that, it's really not good for your body. Screen time. This is my favorite topic with teenagers. I don't get a lot of friends when I speak about it. Before 6 years, zero screen. Before 6 years, zero screen. Screen is a easy way to calm down children, but it's not calming them down. The major
overstimulating their brain at all times, especially in the night when you know they have to go to sleep, and the phone is just overstimulating their mind and will never get them good sleep.
Yeah, the first part, the major effect you have is compliancy. We will give you tips and things to do. It's not a luxury, and we know why we say that. If we tell you never come with an empty stomach to a session, you will do it once, but not twice, believe me, because you will really feel bad after the session. You cannot do neurofeedback with an empty stomach. You need to be hydrated. If you are not hydrated, I guarantee you will have headache. You can believe me or you can try it. There are things we know it because we did it so many times. I think I did over 20,000 sessions. I know what's coming.
Yeah, there is a reason why we're saying certain things, because we've seen it in so many clients that we don't want it happening again.
Yeah. Okay. Compliance, he did it. Environment. So, for example, we refuse someone in burnout who comes to us and say, "Oh, fix me. I need to go back." Nope, we won't do that because that's not helpful for you. We had that too many times. Too many medications. Then we need to have a doctor into the loop also, because I give the best example, taking antidepressants over 20 years, that doesn't make any sense. If you read the use case for depression and the indications, they shouldn't be taken longer than 6 months or a year. If you take them since 20 years, there's a problem. Change your doctor. Things we cannot help, or which is difficult, is if you have metal plates, you have cranial devices, but even we had people with both. Depends on how talk to us, we can figure that out. The condition to help children, maybe that is important to say, the child must be able to sit still on a chair for 20 to 30 minutes. If that is possible, then we can work on it. Mostly adults have more problems than children. Good. For having a more complete FAQ with all the questions, the common questions answered, we have a complete FAQ on our website.
Yep.
Good. Now we're coming to the case studies. Finally, some data. So, okay, you are not used to read EEG, but this is typically an EEG of a child. No, that's not a child. This is a
That's
little
not.
bit. This is a young woman who was out of school into depression and not able to focus, but wanted to learn new things and not able to change and not get out of the routines. So what you see here is you see these are alpha waves, but alpha waves in the middle of the head with that amplitude is not good. And if you see the first lines, if you listened well, you would recognize these are beta spindles. This is pure stress. So
Very fast waves.
very fast, very stressed. So here the central part of the brain is disconnected, not processing information. The back of the head is also disconnected. And then the really occipital, the two last lines, again, we have these high beta spindles. So when I see this, I know that this person has really bad sleep. So this was her first intake. So how does her brain look like now? That's a change, I would say. She was amazed how much it changed. It's not perfect. For me, this brain is not done. This was after 10 sessions. But you see the whole alpha waves here. This is the being up into space, not there, present, dreamy, is completely done. It's still not a relaxed brain, but it's at least she's present. This one was up and away. So this one is nice. This is an 8-year-old Portuguese boy who came with a lot of different learning problematics. And here we have the slow. This is a brain map, how we call it. This is a summary. We have 30 pages behind. Just looking the first row, and then this row is interesting. So the color codes as the comparison with the norms. When the brain activity is normal, it's white, so no color. When you go into blue, we have a lack of not enough. And if you go into red, we have two excessive fast waves. So here you see a typical zebra brain. So we have too much slow waves, so which is the learning difficulty, grasping thing, understanding, especially if it's a prefrontal cortex mixed into such slow waves, learning is quasi impossible. So what did his brain do to compensate is he put a lot of fast waves above it on the same places, just to not get lost during the day in school. But so you have an energy frequency shaped like a U, and the normal person has and no alpha waves, no relaxation, no being calm. And the normal person has exactly the opposite: little slow waves, the maximum of amplitude in the middle range of frequencies, and no fast waves. So
it's an inverted U.
Inverted U. So, and how did it change during the sessions? So after 10 sessions, here we also have this is the measurement in the brain waves. We see how efficient his brain was, and so he got the score below 6, and now he's at 9. That's a gifted person. You see that the delta waves are not completely gone, but they are strongly reduced. And what was the most impressive was the feedback from the teacher, because the teachers didn't know that he did neurofeedback, but they asked the parents. They said, a miracle happened. Your boy went from asocial, no friends, to now he is the mediator if other children has problem, so he tries to solve them for them. So wow, and she called it a miracle. So this is the joy of our job. We have that at least one miracle per month, at least one, often more than one. So this is nice. And I talked about the testing. So these are examples of this we have 12 neurocognitive tests we do. So these are the first one is the memoir spatial short-term memory. And then what you see here is this was the testing the first time, then the testing after 10 sessions, and then the testing after 15 or 15 sessions.
Yeah.
So she went up from below average, which is by this red, to 100 is normal, and now she's above normal. And here's the attention, so the ability to concentrate on details and find little differences. She already had a good score, but it went continuously up. And this one is the major, because this one is this is called a Stroop test. This is one of the most difficult tests. People hate it. And you can pass it 10, 12 times. There's no learning effect. You always have the same difficulty. It's measuring the inhibition of a response. So not reacting to everything which comes, and be able to concentrate on the important information despite interferences. And that's the important part. The test is made in such a way that you get disturbed, and just a learning disabled brain or an ADHD brain then will get lost and doesn't know which information is important and react to everything but not to the right one. And here you see a nice progression how this person, so this was I think mid-20 women, and she was not able to study, and she had to do I think a doctor thesis, and she was struggling with it, and I think how she finished easily. You will find if you are a good reader, you will find these clients back on our reviews on Google. We have now over 50 reviews from clients who tell us about their results. And I really recommend you not believing us, but reading what our clients says about the results. They are all, yeah, good, I think. So how does it work? If you're interested. So first step is, as I said, if you have individual questions, questions not solved, specific cases, you can book a free teleconsultation on our website. Then we will have time, 15 to 30 minutes, to go into your details, see if we are a good fit for you, if we could help or not, or if you need something else. So don't hesitate to book one and talk with us. Then the obligatory first mandatory step is the brain map or quantitative EEG to get an assessment of what's going on in your brain, because we never touch a brain without knowing what's going on inside. Because even SMR, which are normally nice brain waves, if you have too much SMR, you are anxious. So you have two versions of this, the first step. One with the HRV analysis. What is HRV? This is an electrocardiogram over 24 hours where we measure your sleep. As I told you, we can measure what's going on in your nervous system. Are you exhausted? Are you overactive? Are there maybe snoring problems? Are there other things? So we will see it. And it's different than the sleep laboratoire du sommeil, the sleep laboratories from the clinic, because I did it, and they told me, oh, you have good sleep. It was a horrible night, because their level of intervention is so high. They don't take you serious if you just sleep bad, but that's enough to not being able to concentrate. So, and the report with the sleep, there's also nice recommendations what you should do and so on. But if you don't have a sleep problem, the normal brain map is enough. After you did that, so what's happening there? In the first, there are two appointments. The first appointment is 1 hour in our office. You need to come because we need to put the electrodes on your head and to measure. We will ask you about medical histories. If you have copy of reports, bring a copy with us or send them digitally in. We will send you then questionnaires and cognitive tests You will do it at home. Then we fix the second appointment, and this one is longer. It's on 1.5 hour, and this is where we put all together what we saw, what is in the medical reports, what does the test say, what does the brain map say, and how can we address that. And this is normally long meeting, 1.5 hours, after the client say, whoa, too much information, but it's important to get, because we need to be on the same line. If you do not agree with what we see, then we are not a good fit. Till now it never happened, but we never know. Okay, this is the mandatory step. Once you've done that, then we can go into the active part, which is doing the neurotherapy, neurofeedback with neuromodulation, starting the SSP at home. Just one important remark. Actually, we are quite busy, more busy than we ever have been. That's because also one team member is on sick leave. So normally, I think the first appointment for doing a brain map is end of October, maybe starting November.
I think
November, and to start the trainings is November too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that. Cannot change that. So the minute it's a process, when you start the training, you have to engage and you have to write a contract with us. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? We will fix certain rules. You cannot cancel an appointment the same day, apart if you are really sick, but then you need a proof, something like that. The modalities, how we're going to work, this will all be fixed. There's a minimum of 10 sessions to be able to get a result. In the package of the 10 session is the re-evaluation included. So we'll exactly see what improved, what needs to be done. And we will be able to when we see the data, to tell you, oh, it's good like that. Now you need to learn to continue or do other things. Or if we know that we can achieve more results, then we will tell you. You are not forced to do anything. But the minimum of 10 sessions, why? Because it's a program that we do. In the first 3 sessions, we do things which stabilize, which have global effects about connectivity in the brain. Then in the middle, we are doing the more stronger sessions. And then at the end, we are again doing the facilitating, round it up, and things like that. And then do the reassessment, what changed. So the comparative evaluation is part of the package. That is really important because people, don't realize that. So special offer, available till the 1 month, till 28 October. That's the date of our next webinar. That's why 28 October. So if I made you curious, if you just want to try the Safe and Sound protocol, it's also powerful standalone, but it's better combined. But if you just want to try it out, no problem. We normally it's 445 euros, and we make a promotion, 230 euro, to make the full 15-hour program. To access this, you cannot book this over the website because we need to have a talk with you. So contact us at this address, info with an S, at Neurofeedback Luxembourg, Safe and Sound protocol, and then we will contact you, and then we will arrange this thing. You need to have headphones, so closed ear, not in ear, closed ear, and you need to have a smartphone, Android or iPhone. It works on both. Okay. If you want that we have a look into your brain or your child's brain, then the brain map, we give a 100 euro discount with LD 2023 as code. So when you go to our website,
while booking it, you can use the coupon code before the payment.
Use this code during 1 month. It's valuable till the 28th October, and you get 100 euro reduction on the brain mapping, not on the treatment, but on the brain mapping. So it's worth to do the brain maps, really. How to use the code and book. So go to our website, then you have to click book an appointment. You get redirected to our booking website. Then what is important, often people, the adults open the website and fills out for his, but in fact it's for his children. Don't do that. Fill out for the name of children and fill out the right birthday, because otherwise you will have not access to specific hours, because we reserve the Tuesday afternoons and Thursday afternoons for children. There's no adult who can come. Choose the service, choose the date, confirm your appointment, enter the coupon, and you need to pay all our appointments. We don't give appointments. You have to book them yourself. And if you want to book a brain map or neurofeedback, you have to pay in advance that the appointments get validated. Otherwise, it does not work. And no, we are not reimbursed by the CNS. If you want to have a complete look at our tariff of prices, so on the website, there's a site about it, because we offer also payment installments, so monthly payments. Instead, you don't have to pay everything in upfront. So we cannot lower our prices, but we can make the monthly payments so it's affordable. What are our next topics? The next topic will be in English, the 29th October, PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder. On November, we'll talk about migraines. On September, about ADHD, but in French.
December.
We're
done with September.
In ADHD in French. And yes, in January, sleep and depression. And we will have one dedicated webinar about the Safe and Sound protocol, certainly with people from Unite.
Which is the platform that provides the SSP training.
Yes. So we are coming to the end. Just as I mentioned, please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. We put a lot of effort and energy in giving away a lot of information, I think more than other providers, being transparent, what we do, how we do it. So we find a lot of information on our YouTube channel. We will be really happy if you like and subscribe, because that gives us energy to continue to do that.
Yeah, you might find more topics on the YouTube channel that are more specific to you, that you would want more information on, so you can have a look at those as well.
And if you think we should treat a specific topic, then please write us. I was thinking about hypersensitivity, because this hypersensibility, this is a recurring topic, but I'm not sure but everybody will be happy with what I will tell you.
We're open to suggestions.
We are open to suggestions. So thank you for listening to us. Stay with us if you have any questions. So please, thank you. Thank you. Monica, you are from Germany, Monica, is that right? You are a follower of us, but we never met. You should come for a coffee. Are you sometimes in Luxembourg?
Never been.
No.
Then you need to come and see us and meet us.
It's a beautiful country, and we have good coffee, and we are nice people. So you're welcome. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
you very much. Bye.